Hi everyone, welcome to Third Coast Gaming News. It is episode 35. Today is we're recording on July 11th. It's a Sunday, my dude. I'm joined by my co-host Austin Taylor. Hello.
Hey, all you people.
Good.
Hey, all you people.
Hail you
Hey, all you
people.
people. Come listen to me.
Hail you
I've just
people.
had a sandwich.
Uh-huh.
Not just any sandwich. A Krabby Patty with jellyfish jelly.
Oh, and that's a reference.
That is a reference, and that's the one I've chosen to open this up with.
Good. Mine is. I went to Wiener Schnitzel and got a hot dog and was like, that was a hot dog," and then I shrugged. It's fine. I forgot about jellyfish jelly, Austin.
There are like three different references to SpongeBob that like are just in rotation in my head. It's either jellyfish jelly, the sort of Krabby Patty intro in the SpongeBob 101 episode. That was just a training video for the Krusty Krab, and
Back to basics.
probably something with Mermaid Man,
Yeah,
I imagine.
how about them rubbing the two pickles together? You know, got to get the noise of the pickles just right.
Yeah, that was really weird.
These pickles gotta sound just right. Um, I don't want to talk about pickles right now. These hot dogs are making me burpy. It's not a good thing. Do you watch this? I was gonna start with I'll just start. Do you watch this Sony State of Play? I'll start
You
with
know
that.
what, Travis?
Uh huh.
I just decided no news for Austin this week.
Austin
Uh,
don't need no news.
but yes, I did.
Okay, so you lied to me, is what you're telling me.
I did just lie
As
to
a
you, yeah.
joke. How
Yeah.
dare you? It was kind of fun. I don't know. We were just talking about Nextlander, the Giant Bomb spinoff. I was watching them talk over it. It was alright. Had some stuff, you know. What was the big thing out of that?
I mean, the biggest thing is like the Deathloop gameplay overview,
Yes,
right? Like their almost 10-minute video.
that went by pretty fast. I had a good time. How old am I? IGN, I'm 69. Damn. Yeah, Deathloop continues to look really cool, and I continue to think I am always either really bad at Dishonored games or I save scum them until I get trying to get like the all stealthy run, and then I uninstall it
Yeah.
because I'm frustrated with myself. But I could see myself like not caring as much about like going for an all stealth run and just I've kind of broken past that a little bit.
Yeah. I think like this gameplay video in particular is a really good like look at the game because it's the least complicated approach to like one of its because the whole point of Deathloop is you're targeting a number of people called the Founders, and you're on this island that is stuck in a sort of 1 day time loop. And this is the first time they've shown like a demo of this concept that was not complicated by like, look at all the systems we're putting in here. It was just, here's your dude, here's some guns, here's a target. We're gonna go ahead and kill him.
Some really cool guns, I'll say. Very style. Like there's that gun that just says "Blam" on the side
Yeah,
of it, and then there's
yeah,
something else on the other side, like when you reload it.
it's like a cool revolver, and this is like the fruits of the Wolfenstein Youngblood that Arcane helped with, sort of coming into fruition, and that's nice to see because while I was not like big on that game, it played well enough.
Yeah, and I think this, like you're saying, this kind of has a look at like the different ways you can kind of like run around in like this world. And it's definitely got the Dishonored thing where you have a knife in one hand and you're doing your powers in your left hand, and then you can switch to a weapon.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, I see the
it's
staples of Dishonored where you have the teleport, and you have like the what would you call the gravity pickup?
yeah the like force lift or whatever sort of thing to make it like suspend enemies in air.
And the cool thing I didn't know about this game, apparently the whole world kind of starts you off, and you can pick which character you can go assassinate first. Because what is it? There's like 6 people you're trying to target.
It's like 6 or 8, one of those.
Yeah, so you beat one and you get a new power, and it's kind of like the Mega Man thing where you're going and collecting all these powers to go help you pick up who should I do 2, who should I do 3, what's the optimal start, and there seems to be a lot of fun you can have with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like it's like a big thing with this presentation was like when you start a day over, you're not starting over from scratch. It is you're losing a good amount of stuff, but like you can keep a good amount of like your character progress, like your powers, and depending on a resource that you can collect, a number of your weapons.
And man, this game is pretty. I will say Arcane has done a very good job of capturing that like 60s, 70s spy movie kind of like
Oh,
aesthetics.
the vibes of Arcane are like impeccable
Yeah.
all the time. They are never not good at like a look.
And I would say this is calling to me more than like Dishonored, where it's like steampunky. I think I like the vibes of this a little more.
Yeah, yeah, I think definitely there's just much more that's in your face outside of like the kind of I don't want to say generic, but expected sort of aesthetic that you got to see in like the first Dishonored that they start playing with in that second game, and then my understanding is get really buck wild with once you get to Death of the Outsider.
Yeah, and this game reminds me. Did you ever play Counter Spy on? I think it was a PS3 game.
I don't think I did. If it was on PS3, I probably didn't.
Might have been PS3, PS4. No, it was a PS4 launch game. It was like this Metroidvania game where you could go and hide behind cover and shoot people, but it was just like you just played as a spy and you were running around this base and stuff. It was also, like playing around with like the 60s motif thing.
I definitely. Oh, this was yeah. I've played like a bit of this
Yeah.
and figured it wasn't for me.
It's a game. It's neat.
Yeah.
What else is at the that that Death Stranding director's cut makes it look way more fun than it probably like normally is. But all those like gadgets you're getting from this like I'll just call this like DLC for the game pretty much that you can upgrade for 10. Hey, it's only $10 to upgrade all this stuff if you own it already, Austin. What a magnificent idea.
Yeah. Sure. Um. I mean, considering that this is like I don't know, it's always like it's a bit weird because like, new editions of games aren't anything new, but it is just now we are kind of also getting these behind getting a new console much in the same way of like a not as egregious as like a Ghost of Tsushima, certainly, but like kind of the same muddled, middling thoughts on. But it looks like a fine sort of version of Death Stranding. I don't know if I necessarily needed like user generated or user made like racetracks in Death Stranding.
That's fun. Fuck it. Someone's having fun out there, just being like, "Yep,
Oh
let's
yeah,
just
no,
go for
yeah,
it."
I'm sure they're having fun making it. It's just I don't know if I'd ever have fun playing that because like the vehicle controls in
Yeah,
that game are not good.
yeah. This was making me think about picking it up. I have liked the looks of this game. I just those reviews came out and be like, "Oh, I'll wait for it to come on sale," and I never picked it up when it was on
Yeah,
sale.
yeah.
But the you just get they just give you a drop kick, which is like, all right. I like drop kicking people in Dying Light. I'll do it in Death Stranding too.
Oh yeah, like I would say like if you haven't played it, this is probably the version to pick up, right? Because they seem to have put in a lot of techniques and gadgets that make dealing with like the hostile elements of the world much easier. That's why people were pretty stoked about the PC edition because the Cyberpunk 2077 crossover items they had where you had devices or gadgets that could disable like mules being the air quote crazy mailmen who are the hostile enemies of Death Stranding. Um, you have this like tech that can disable their proximity alarms so you can sneak by them easier. And the director's cut seems to have added a number of tech tech gadgets and weapons that just will make dealing with them so much easier because in the base version of the game it's quite painful.
Huh. And the you get a little buddy bot. I think that's a fun thing that reminds me of the mech from Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain.
Oh, the
That you can
little
just
oh,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
D-Walker. Yeah, this one seems pretty useful because it's just now you can carry more cargo, and also if it doesn't have cargo, it could carry you. Um,
Yes, you can sit your ass down and enjoy not walking in the walking simulator. You can let someone
yeah,
else do the walking.
yeah, it's weird. Like I don't know if I'd use it for anything more than carrying extra cargo because like again, a big thing in that game is like you go to a mule camp, you clear it out, and they have so much cargo in that camp, but you just don't have enough space to get all of it. But that would be
Yeah.
very helpful.
You know, the cool thing that kind of popped up for me recently was I was watching a video from a YouTube creator about him playing like 60 hours of Metal Gear Survive, which I'm sorry you had to do that to yourself, but he made a pretty good video about it. And there's lots of like, if there's lots of like similarities between Metal Gear Survive and like Death Stranding that kind of pop up in weird ways that are like, oh, maybe if um, Kojima hadn't left Konami, they're both K words, that maybe Survive would have turned into something more like Stranding, but without the I'm they're taking my baby away from me trailers.
I mean, maybe like these are both games that are very much borrowing from, in a weird way, the groundwork that was laid in The Phantom Pain, right? One of them is just taking like the license and name of that series. The other one is directly interfacing with um, like how the player sort of handles resources, right? And then that is then spun off into what Death Stranding becomes, which is a really kind of buck wild game.
Yeah. Oh, I found this video. It's by the Gaming Library. It's an hour and 14-minute analysis of Metal Gear Survive that came out in January of this year. Which,
God,
good on you for doing that, my dude. He's got a pretty
ridiculous.
good channel. Yeah, it's a pretty funny. I only watched like half of it. It's pretty cool. So that seems cool. What else came out of this? Just that Demon
Sifu?
Slayer anime trailer for that anime game I probably won't play. I should watch that show though. I've been hearing good things about it.
Yeah, everyone likes Demon Slayer. I've never watched it, and and my my anime subscription is what I'll call it, lapsed, and I don't plan on paying for it again. So I doubt I ever will.
Yeah, I think it's on some other stuff besides Crunchyroll. I would have to look that up right now. But since we're in the anime minute of the podcast, they put they put some Gundam on Netflix, and I had a good time watching some Gundam on there.
Yeah, they put
Um,
like the movie adaptation of the original series and also a new movie, right? Like Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway.
yes, Hathaway is like I think it was like 10 years after Char's counterattack. So they did the thing. They
Oh,
have like a little trilogy going on where you have the original series, Char's counterattack, and Hathaway, and you can kind of watch them
yeah.
all after each other. So
Yep.
Hathaway is part one of like a three series that's like originally a novelization that came out a little after Char's counterattack called Hathaway's Flash. That's dealing with what has Bright Noah's son Hathaway Noah been up to after. So it's
Yeah.
it's also after Unicorn. So it's like a little bit after that. And it's a fun movie. It's interesting.
All
It's
right. Yeah.
beautiful. It's gorgeous. It came out in Japan last year in theaters, and Netflix bought the rights to put it on streaming.
Yeah, out here in the West. Yeah, that's really cool. I'll have to I mean, I'm definitely gonna get around to it, but now I have like a path I know I can take towards it, so that's good.
And I would definitely say if you so you said you finished all of the original Mobile Suit Gundam, right?
Yeah, I watched the original series.
You could probably go on Netflix and watch Char's counterattack and Hathaway because like Zeta and Double Zeta are more connected to each other, and Char's
Yeah.
counterattack only pulls like one thing from Zeta, and it's like some Neo Zeon shit that shows up in Double
Yeah,
Zeta. That's about
like
it.
Counterattack is mostly like the epilogue, like conclusion of this original like trilogy. I mean, not original trilogy, but like original like series, right? It's meant to be the conclusion of Amuro and Char's sort of rivalry.
Yeah, and it has like the Neo Zeon like resurgence that happens in Double Zeta, and Char kind of continues that with there's like some mobile armors that have like funnels that shoot at people that like a new type pilot will control, and there's some of that happens in like Char's counterattack, if I remember. All right, back off of the anime. Back off the anime.
Back to video games.
Fist looks really cool.
Which
I
one?
think this is a PS5 game. Forged in Shadow.
Forged in Shadow.
Is that the one I was thinking of?
Yeah, it was there. It's a platformer,
Yeah.
right? So I'll probably not gonna mess with it.
It's like this 2D Metroidvania platformer that's kind of like well, what do they call like the Star Fox characters? They're like animals who are anthropomorphic.
Yeah, anthropomorphized animals.
Yeah.
I was like, well, we call him Team Star Fox.
Yes.
Slippy, Peppy, Falcon.
Well, there's a dude who just like looks like Slippy in this trailer. I was like, all right. It looks neat. It reminds me of it's got the Ratchet and Clank jetpack where it's just like your double jump turns into a spin. You can kind of hover down, but it's like a drill instead of a clank. I would call it. Let's see. What was on here that kind of like you saw that you liked? What else is on? There's a couple.
I mean, like the Sifu delay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Is it only PS5? That's PS4 also.
Yeah. PS4, PS5, and PC. That's a bit of a bummer. I'm glad they're taking their time with it, though. I'd rather like this sort of thing get pushed back till it's ready. I'm still quite excited for it.
Yeah, it makes me wish I had played more Absolver, but I'm excited to just mess around in their combat in this like very I would say inspired by I was just the Vengeance trilogy, the first one that got remade in America. Old Boy. I would say it's a little Old Boy inspired.
Old Boy.
Just a little.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, kinda, right? Like there's definitely in that first trailer they showed is just a sequence of you going through a hallway like Old Boy. You know, everyone borrows that hallway sequence from Old Boy. I remember that also being in the game about the two dudes who break out of prison. A Way Out.
Oh, is that in A Way Out too? That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a scene where whoever's playing as Vincent, you're running from police in a hospital, and the camera shifts, and it's just a 2D like fight sequence where you're beating the shit out of some cops. It's pretty great.
Yeah, and it's like neon lit. I think it's China. It could be Japan. I should look this up, but it just looks like neon soaked stuff. It's very good motif that I love too. Little John Wicky too.
Yeah, but this looks like Sifu has always looked really cool. I'm interested in seeing how they handle because like every time you get I don't know if it's killed or every time you're defeated, it seems like your age increases by 1 or 2 years. So by the time you reach this game, you could be in your 60s, if not higher. And I'm interested in seeing how they handle like the aging of the character and whether like this affects your ability to perform certain moves. Because there's another game that had something like this. It was the Dark Souls spin-off made by not spin-off, Dark Souls like game made by the people who did Remnant from the Ashes, where your player character every time you died you would age up a year, and as you got older you would get worse at martial combat, but your abilities in magic would become significantly improved. So by the time you sort of get pretty old, you're mostly like a caster. I'm interested in seeing like how they handle like that kind of idea, but like with like martial arts.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. I'm ready for Sifu. Which other one? I'm trying to think which one was looking really cool to me. It was like I'm guessing it's this Hunter's Arena Legends. I hope this is a free to play game, because as I keep saying, those do really well compared to like a mediocre free to play game can do better than like a mediocre paid thing that like the multiplayer is really popular when it comes out and then it kind of falls down.
Yeah.
The number of players kind of goes down after, like what I would say like the For Honor thing.
I mean, the problem with For Honor is more than just its price point, though. For Honor had a lot going on where the content being added wasn't like at early launch time wasn't necessarily that interesting. Also, you had the very public firing of For Honor's creative director, uh,
Huh.
who is a
I didn't.
presence, who is a presence that like people really liked with that game. Like, there's like a documentary about it too.
I watched the documentary. I didn't know he got let go. I know a couple friends of mine. I had a pretty good time playing For Honor multiplayer for like the time I played with it. It was interesting. I could have used more content updates, like you were saying. But they keep releasing stuff for it. Like originally, like what that documentary is like goes into is how like he wanted that game. The director was like pushing for more of a single player thing, whereas like Ubisoft's like, ooh, Siege did really well. We should spin this a little more multiplayer, which is a choice. What else came out of?
Yeah, and like by the end of that documentary, it's like the launch party of the game, and he's actively like angry at everyone because he's been let go. Um,
Oh, see, I didn't finish it, unfortunately, but that's a bummer.
yeah. But Hunter's Arena seems interesting. Like it seems like it wants to sort of push that PVE slash PvP angle of something like Hunt Showdown,
Yeah.
right? Where you're going up against AI enemies and you can like kill them to get your skills up, and then that way once you meet players, you'll be much better equipped to deal with with people. Not much more aside from that I remember from this showing. But it's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, and I think it was saying, is it PS4, PS5? It looks like.
It's on I'm pretty sure it's on PC.
Yeah, it reminds me. It looks like Black Desert. The combat looks like Black Desert Online a little bit, where it's just like giving you a little bit of the action brawler kind of little Dynasty Warriors-y combat. It's the way I would explain it a little bit.
Oh, so it's Hunter's Arena Legends. Yeah, so it's coming to PS4 and PS5. It's currently on Steam in early access.
Interesting.
And its price point right now is $10, which is marked as 50% off. So I imagine once that hits PS4 and PS5, it's gonna be like $20.
It's a PS Plus game for August as well.
Ah, there you go.
So there you go. There's the other path you go down to is you get on a Sony platform and you make it free for the Fall Guys approach. There you go. You got Moss 2 and Arcageddon, which I don't even remember what Arcageddon was. Oh yeah, it was that other multiplayer. Arcageddon looked really cool too, actually. That was only PS5, but it's like a 4-player co-op or solo multiplayer shooter that I had the stream I was watching had it described as the video games that like the characters in Splatoon would play.
Yeah.
Or you have these very stylized just like teens with trendy outfits and you're sliding and shooting. That game looks pretty cool. I'm curious what like the overall like length of that game will be like, or like what kind of modes are in it and stuff.
Yeah.
It's available. Is it available now in early access? Yes.
Yeah.
It
So
is.
early access starts today with a full launch next year.
Cool. Seems interesting. It looks like could be in the same vein as Knockout City. I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens with it. Hey, let's pivot to Nintendo. What I will say is the biggest sigh of
The biggest oh Nintendo.
Oh, Nintendo, the internet has ever seen, or a like a goddamn Nintendo. This I wanted more than this. But the OLED Switch is coming out. It's $50 more. It's coming out October 8th. Um, it's got a bigger kickstand. It's got 64 gigabytes of internal storage instead of 32, which in this day is still not a lot. A enhanced audio port. You get a LAN port, so you can play Smash with not over Wi-Fi, so then they can stop complaining about that.
Yep.
And a 7-inch OLED screen instead of a 6.2. And then I think the other thing, I think I saved a picture of it, but Jeff Grubb was talking about that there still might be a Switch, like a new Switch or a Switch Pro coming out maybe a year or two from now. I feel like this fits in the family of Switches in the 3DS line of like the 3DS XL. Except people are hungry for any kind of news to talk about. So I think it got hyped up a little bit.
I mean, it's more like people are just very desperate to hold on to the idea that there is an improved Switch coming.
Which would be nice, you know. What I hear, the Mario Golf isn't running, can chug a little in co-op, and you know, when the Switch came out, it was already behind the
Yeah,
current gen stuff. So people are hungry for that.
yeah. I mean, people have been like, performance issues on the Switch are nothing new. Like, you go to Forgotten Woods in Breath of the Wild, and like that's dropping frames. Like, I mean, is it a shame that this Switch doesn't answer those problems? Yeah, it is. Do I necessarily think that we're gonna see a Switch that answers these problems within the next like 2 years? I highly doubt it.
Yeah, hoping for something, but it's cool looking. You know, it's got the I think the white Joy Cons are cool. It's a bummer. There's an article on The Verge talking about how they asked Nintendo about the Joy-Con drift, and they didn't really send a reply about that. Which my Joy-Cons are drifting right now, so I use a different controller instead of the regular ones, which kind of sucks because I do like Joy-Cons. I think they're neat little controllers.
Yeah, yeah. I was really scared. I was playing Breath of the Wild the other day, and I was really scared that my joysticks on the light began drifting. I don't think it did, but for a moment I thought they were.
Ah, yeah. It sometimes it'll come up, sometimes it won't. I hear the PS5 controller does that a little bit, but I think this is cool. You know, if I had someone to sell my Switch to, I would definitely think about picking this thing up. It looks cool. You know, a little nice OLED screen. I mean, still though, I'd probably wait to get a whatever else is coming out after this. There has been after the news came out, Amazon, GameStop have been doing sales on a bunch of like Nintendo games, which cool time to get in to be picking up some of those Nintendo like games that don't ever drop in price. Like I saw Luigi's Mansion and like uh, Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey for like $40, and like Link's Awakening might have been 30 or 40.
That's nice.
So yeah, that the whole internet was in a kerfuffle about this.
Oh, people were mad.
There was something I was thinking about. Do you think the was this thing going to be 4K stuff originally, and it kind of got trimmed down because of like the chip shortages and just like COVID happening this year? I feel like Nintendo seemed like they could have been at a flexible state for this. Of if the chip shortage hadn't happened, maybe it would have had 4K output. Who knows?
I doubt it.
Don't know.
Like, we keep talking about Nintendo and like creating hardware that is up to like on par with other consoles that people expect 4K gaming out of, and that's just never been their priority. So like I
Yeah,
don't think this was
yeah.
ever like a 4K that got scaled back because of like resources that were available to them. I think this was kind of always an intended like sort of update to the Switch.
Yeah, and I definitely know the OLED screens have been getting cheaper as of like, most phones use OLED screens, and I think just to put out something that is maybe on the market side is easier to put together than the regular Switch, and something to also replace
Yeah,
the original Switch that came out was Switch came out 2016. I think it's been 4
2017.
years. 2017. Yeah, it's been 4 years. So, we're at the Switch XL. And we'll get to the new Switch, and then we'll get to the 2D Switch at some point, I guess.
Yeah, I
Jokes.
cannot wait to have a Switch SP where it flips open.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, a dual screen Switch, crazy. It would be like, it reminds me of those. Have you seen those little phones that are just like the screen will bend a little bit when you fold it?
yeah,
Those things are. I keep
yeah,
thinking about them breaking when I look at
those
them.
are weird. Yeah, every time I see an image, and I see a lot of them these days, like an image of those, I'm just like, what even are you doing?
Yeah. To other news that was going on, rumors that was coming out of Bloomberg. What was it, like 3 or 4 a.m.? I saw these tweets because I was at work. Is that they were Schreier was talking about like an Assassin's Creed Infinite or Infinity or whatever they're calling it. So, but yeah, Ubisoft is just kind of talking about having their next Assassin's Creed game being like a live service, which that could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was always gonna go this way, right? It was only a matter of time.
Yeah, and when they were releasing a new Assassin's Creed every year or two, it definitely felt like it. They put out games more often than other studios do. I think it's kind of about time that they were thinking about this. But what kind of
Yeah.
live service is like the questions I have? Is it like, I mean, definitely it's going to be like single player, like the model kind of where I would look at Destiny, where every year they have like a $40 or $50 expansion that drops, and it's just a new area, maybe a new time frame that you're going into. Like, one's Japan, one's China, one's American West. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but it's gonna be some
Yeah.
multiplayer stuff in it. It's gonna be more loot based, like Origins and Odyssey. Like I know Valhalla trimmed down on the loot stuff a little bit.
Yeah, the thing is like when we talk about like what possible settings, like what like variety of settings this kind of Assassin's Creed could have. The thing that we also need to sort of take into account is like the mechanics and verbs that players will get to like uh, mess with in this game in its base version are going to define like what we can interact with later as they continue adding more. Like I doubt they're going to, at least within like the first 2 years of this game, once it's released, present us with like a setting where like guns are prevalent and there are parts of it will be parts of the game where it almost interacts like a third person shooter, you know? Um, I don't think they've necessarily figured out what they might do with guns since like Assassin's Creed 2, when all it was you hold down X, Ezio aims the wrist cannon and then shoots someone.
Yeah, or like your pistols and Black Flag, which were just like used them in combat just to like drop
Yeah,
one enemy.
just to like instant kill someone. And that's like a method
Yeah,
a method of combat that is not, I mean, isn't anything that we've seen from Assassin's Creed recently, right? Like they once they moved on
yeah,
to Origins, they changed it drastically to be more like character action.
yeah. And I didn't when I said the Old West, I just couldn't think of anything else. But
Yeah.
it could be interesting. They have kind of been mini live services in the way where Ubisoft games tend to like update with. They had like Breakpoint had events, Wildland had events, even like Origins through Valhalla would have like their seasonal events, and then they'd have their DLC drop, and then they have like content updates where they're like, I know in Wildlands they would just like, here's a bunch of cars you can use, here's a new area with a bunch of new missions in here.
Yeah, yeah. Like Origins straight up had an event close to launch where you go into this like ruin in Egypt and you see like you do a puzzle and then you hide behind a pillar as Bahamut from like Final Fantasy 15 shows up and then flies into the sky and leaves behind a sword straight out of Final Fantasy 15, right? Like they're not they're not strangers to these kind of events. The thing I question is, does this kind of platform like make those kind of events like it's bread and butter, right? Like those are as important to the platform as like whatever kind of story you would launch with it.
Yeah, and I think that could be really important to whether this game does well or not. Because you think about like when I think about like the Destiny in it's like it's 2014 is when it came out. It's like in its seventh year,
Yeah.
not counting like the Destiny 1 to 2 stuff. Is they have their seasonal events and they have their big DLC drops. So there's always kind of something to do, and it'd be cool if Ubisoft had their Assassin's Creed game kind of going like that. This is kind of bringing those two studios together that were taking turns coming out with a game every 2 years. Um, I'm gonna let this Verge article kind of describe what else is going on. Is the development of the title has reportedly been impacted by a recent wave of sexual misconduct allegations that emerged against senior Ubisoft employees last year. Employees are reportedly angry that managers accused of misconduct are still in senior positions within the company. A spokesperson for Ubisoft told Bloomberg an employee that had allegations and remain at Ubisoft has had their case rigorously reviewed by a third party and were either exonerated or underwent appropriate disciplinary actions, which there's still some shit going on at Ubisoft
I
right
mean,
now. And they're kind
yeah.
of taking off the focus of like central leads for stuff as well, to where like we're going to have this product, you're not going to really focus on like what was it, the one of the made leads for Valhalla was recently like in under problems like this.
Well, yeah, it was so like Valhalla's lead is a bit different, I feel, because I believe that specific story was he had had an affair, and I'm not entirely sure how that tied in with like his performance at the company. But you have other things like the I forget the name of this executive, but this executive who was basically the person greenlighting games, right? This person who had such a heavy impact on the direction Assassin's Creed was able to take when like Origins was a thing, right? Which is why the reason why like Aya, who within like Assassin's Creed lore is the big assassin, right? Is like the main assassin at the origins of that story, was not the main character. Instead, it was her husband Bayek. This person who had this person who had like that kind of influence was also like subject of these just this huge wave of harassment allegations and like misconduct. And so like Ubisoft's whole thing is as a company, they just want to move forward. It's why Yves Guillemot is still like their public figurehead and still allowed to work there, despite the fact he was a CEO who either didn't know this was happening or knew it was happening and decided not to act on it. Either way, horrendously incompetent. Um, so like Ubisoft's whole thing is we just want to move on with this, and we are trying to continuously push out the message that we have done everything we can, short of any sort of drastic change to executive staff, and that's just not enough. Like there was a Kama Sutra article that came out shortly after this about like the sort of evaluation that Ubisoft did regarding how headlines and stories and the perception of its unsafe work environment, which it is, uh, will make it harder for them to retain and attract employees. Instead of like deciding to fire the elements that make their work environment unsafe and like take a long hard look at their studio culture, it's instead we're going to continuously make announcements about our products and hopefully shift the public focus away from the fact that our company is just quite frankly fucked.
Yeah. So there's some bad stuff going on with that. So, take all these announcements with a grain of salt. Like, I will when I'm thinking about my purchasing decisions.
I mean, like, take it with a grain of salt, but also do realize that the people who are going to be directly impacted by any sort of air quote boycott of Ubisoft products are the abused developers.
Yeah, it's a rough place to be in with
Yeah,
like all of this going on.
video games, man.
Mm-hmm. All right. Witcher Season 2 coming to Netflix December 17th. That trailer's pretty good.
Rolling up my
I like
sleeves.
rolling up your sleeves. Witcher Talk. Did you
Do
go to
we want to?
WitcherCon? Did
I
you
didn't.
virtually go to WitcherCon?
I did not virtually go to WitcherCon. I saw like a panel like discussion with Henry Cavill that was like Tales from the White Wolf. Is 45 minutes. I was like, I'm fine actually. I don't need to see anything else you're putting in here.
Yeah,
Um,
the three things I got out of WitcherCon was that Geralt originally someone was like, yeah, just do your normal voice, and during one of the scenes he made it raspy, and the director was like, oh, we'll keep that. It sounds better. He was
yeah.
like, yeah,
Oh, hold on 1 minute.
sure. I'll keep talking about stuff. Yeah, this trailer looks good. It kind of had some moments from the Witcher 3 opening where it's like Geralt training Ciri a little bit, or he's like walking across these pillars, swinging his sword and stuff. Oh, they put the episode titles up. That's cool. When is this coming out? December 17th. Yeah, I'm ready. I like that. I like that first season. It's fun. How many episodes? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 episodes ready. Yeah. Some DLC inspired by the show as well. Could be fun.
It looks like they're changing up some like the chronology of some sequences. Like it looks like from this trailer, because like we already know they're doing this episode, but they're gonna do an episode that is the I forget the name of the short story, but it's actually a short story from the first book, The Last Wish, and this one's basically a Beauty and the Beast story, right? But except this time the beauty is the beast because Yoshi a vampire.
Oh my god.
And it looks like Ciri's gonna be there when they do that story, which is, I guess, an interesting twist, interesting change. But aside from that, most of this is looks like it's gonna be Ciri at Kaer Morhen. A lot of her in like a very furry dress, which like narratively is very important when she like wears a dress at Kaer Morhen because it's a thing that happens because when Triss gets there, and I think we see a bit of Triss here, perhaps seemingly changed because it looks like they changed. At least they gave the actress a new wig because you see like a bit of red hair, whereas in the first season her hair was very much not red, and that's why a bunch of nerds are very upset. Um, and now I'm just like scrolling through this. It looks fine. There's definitely a bit where they show like the Witcher swords from The Witcher 3 and they hone
Yeah.
in on them in a real way, just like, hey, if you know, you know.
Damn. And they had, I feel like, as a little homage to the opening of 3, where Geralt's like walking across the
Yeah,
the wood planks, and he's swinging a sword training. I was like, all right.
yeah. Well, that's how that's how Ciri trained, and how he trained Ciri. They sort of is that I guess it's actually it's called the pendulum, right? Because usually there's a like a number of swinging look like wood beams with some iron on them, and that's like what you're supposed to hit with your sword. I don't know if we see that in the instances where we see Ciri on them and Geralt on them.
Yeah. And then some free DLC coming to Witcher 3 from the show, which, hey, free DLC always a cool thing.
I mean, it's just gonna be
Um, there's an animated
like
prequel coming out, too.
Cavill's armor,
Yeah.
right?
Nightmare of
And
the
they made it.
Wolf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, I think that's about Vesemir.
Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
I think like the Nightmare of the Wolf anime.
Yeah, August 28th. Looks like.
Yeah, I think that's like Vesemir or something.
Hey, more
Right, so
Witcher, always good.
it's a prequel thing. I mean, not really. Like this looks like it's made by the studio that animated Castlevania. Is
Yeah.
like are the vibes I'm getting here, and that show is not particularly good,
Oh,
I would
I haven't
say.
finished it. Um, I don't know. WitcherCon. Geralt's voice is better when it's raspy, as it turns out.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's because it's the voice everyone knows, right? Like everyone knows Doug Cockle's
Yeah.
like raspy voice, which is just his voice apparently. That's just him. Um, so like, oh, you got to make Geralt sound gruff here now. Like
Yeah.
everyone's everyone's going to be doing that forever, despite like I don't even think in the source material. I don't even know if Geralt is supposed to sound like gruff. He's definitely somewhat like something that someone people are afraid of when they see. I don't know if his voice is also like a reason for that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through. We got a couple quick hits here at the end. I got some Red Dead Online update coming July 13th. You're gonna be doing more crimes apparently. I'm ready. This is coming out fucking 2 days, I guess. I didn't realize how close it was, but I'll curiously step into this and see what's going on and if it's fun. Normally these updates are like, oh, we gave you a new job. Here, go give us some gold and you can go like collect stuff or I'm trying to remember what the other two were. It was like moonshining. So, that could be cool. Maybe some new weapons in here. Who knows?
Yeah, probably. It's
Um,
looks like what the setup here is working for the right hand man of Angelo Bronte, who is a character from that main game. Um, and it looks like yeah, like you're gonna have like just more in-depth crimes, like everything from coach holdups to I guess train robberies.
yeah, some small scale robberies to like maybe a multi-stage robbery as
Like yeah, like
well.
multi-stage quests.
Could be interesting because they had a couple of those quests in the beginning, but after you do those like 7 or 8 quests, you just kind of go into the open world and go give Rockstar money for a job. So it could be cool. I'm curious. I'll mess around with it. It'll give me a reason to step back into that game. And they're doing
Yeah.
like mini season passes now that when you complete it, you'll have enough gold to just get the next season pass and not have to pay for it, which is something Rockstar usually does when you buy their thing. They'll just give you a bunch of gold, so you can go get some other stuff too. Let's see, Baldur's Gate 3 patch 5 will give players more influence on dice rolls.
Yeah. So this was one of the features they announced during the, I guess, the third panel from Hell, the folks over at Larian held, um, which was set up and presented to you in a like a semi like live LARP, right? Where they had like 5 or 6 developers like roleplay as D&D characters who are going through a dungeon and basically dying every time the YouTube chat did something foolish. But like the sort of results of all that is that there are a number of features coming to Baldur's Gate 3. Most one of the most important ones being like the sort of the influence you can insert on dice rolls, which are mostly like now. Before, when you did a dice roll, all you could do is it lock you in this interface, and you do a straight roll, and any sort of benefits like advantage or um, added like effects that would add to it would be you'd have to put those in on your character before you did the dice roll. But now it looks like with their new interface, you can like get into a dice roll and then have a companion or your character use something like guidance, which is like you add 1d4 to that roll while you're in that interface. So that's like very helpful for people who are like me and don't just always like make sure to have effects buffs going on their characters at any given point in time. What else do we have here? So you have non-lethal attacks, right? Whereas I believe, in the current version, all you can do is, for non-lethal, you have an entirely separate action for doing that kind of thing, and that reduces the amount of damage you can do from your weapon's damage to, like, I think 1d4. And so now instead of like having to do that, you can just do non-lethal attacks with your weapon. That makes that much more manageable if you don't want to just go around killing people.
That's cool. Always,
Yeah.
always love updates and stuff.
Yeah.
There's an announcement, the Destiny 2 showcase for the new expansion that comes out next year is for August 24th. So they're going to show some of that off. Rumors could be they're going to go into, there's like this old Chicago area that was in like some concept art for like Destiny 1 that could be where it is. Who knows? I think there's a little, the symbol on it is definitely very Taken King like adjacent, so you could see some of those enemies popping up.
This is the Destiny I know.
This is the Fallen, not the Fallen, the Taken. Let's see. Pokemon Go is still making money, apparently. Apparently the year of... Yeah, I know, right? Crazy.
Wild.
Crazy. 2020 was its biggest year with 1.3 million compared to like 2019, which was 400 million. So apparently they're doing well with people. You can't go to the bar, but I can walk around and catch these Pokemon, I guess.
Yep.
Still doing well. So this is something I keep thinking I would probably play this a lot more if I had people to go do raids. You just can't do anything by yourself in this game except try to grind your levels and catch the boys. Pokemon Go, still cool. Let's see. Oh, did you see this shit about the Final Fantasy Pixel remaster? Prices on Steam.
Them being like $90.
Yeah. So it's after there's like a pre-order buying window where you can get them all for $75, and then after that they're going to be $95, which that's a lot of money, but it's a lot of Final Fantasy. It's old Final Fantasy, but they're pixel perfect.
What does that even look like?
I don't know. I hope the fonts are changed because they had those Steam ports of some of these games that were coming out that were like basically the mobile versions that had just like really bad fonts that didn't look like they mixed with like the other stuff in this game. More Final Fantasy. 14 has broken its concurrent player count on Steam again. And I think this new DLC just dropped. No, Endwalker is November. But I saw someone on Twitch had a lot of views doing something on this. But people keep playing that. I played it a bit and was like, maybe I'll play the fake MMO 12 some more. Which I left that disc at my house, and I need to go pick it up at some point. Hey, RoboCop game by those Terminator, that Far Cry Terminator game that came out like last year. It'll probably be one of those games. Is this a Eurojank game? I remember who makes this game. Nacon.
I don't know if we could classify it as Eurojank. You probably just classify it as being bad. Like, I don't know. I don't necessarily care for the idea of a RoboCop game. I don't think this developer, or really any developer, can currently like really sort of navigate the bit of RoboCop. The struggle of RoboCop being do you depict this as like being a really cool dude, or do you depict this as like a very intense and scary sort of end result of late capitalism?
Yeah, it's like, do you want Paul Verhoeven like stuff, or do you want the RoboCop cartoon? The two cartoons that came out, Terminator Resistance was that was called. Yeah, this is a Polish developer, so I guess I would throw it in that bucket. Are you still there? I couldn't tell if you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know. RoboCop. They showed the scene where the RoboCop's gun comes out of his side and he grabs it. Yeah, he didn't grab it in the trailer, but it came out.
Yeah, the gun came out of the thigh, and it's like,
Yep.
oh baby, here we
Oh
go.
boy. We had two very high selling Nintendo games that were like sealed up. Like what are these rarities? It's like Box Perfect or something. I don't know. The first one that came up was that a Legend of Zelda with a 9.0 and like an A rating sold for $870,000 at auction. And they were like, "Oh, this is the most money a game's ever been sold for." And then like today, Mario 64 with like a 9.8 and like a A plus plus went for 1.5 million. That's fucking crazy. Just got to shatter these records, Austin. You got to break through the glass ceiling of Pokemon, of Nintendo auctions.
It's weird, man. I don't know. I don't necessarily get like collectors in this way.
Who the fuck has one? Someone had 1.5 million to fucking buy this perfect Super Mario 64 condition. It's wild.
Couldn't be me.
Couldn't be me.
Yeah, and like they were just talking like the article for like the sealed Legend of Zelda copy is like, oh, this is like such like a one of a time thing, specifically for Zelda. I feel like, because of how early this specific cartridge was in like that game's sort of manufacturing. Right? It's just like what
Yeah.
I don't understand any of this.
It's just basically an NFT, Austin. Don't worry about it.
It's
People just
not
pay
an
way too much. I
NFT
know it's
though.
not. It's a real thing. It's a
It's a real.
box you can put on a shelf.
It's at very least like a real thing you can touch, though. If you touch the thing itself, value
Yeah.
just drops.
Well, there's the news for the week. Next week we'll probably talk about some games. I'll probably mess with that Far Cry. Not that Far Cry. I'll probably mess with that Red Dead Online. And it looks like you played some Gravity Rush 2, so we'll get to that next week.
Yeah, and I mean, also, next week is going to be a lot of like me and Baldur's Gate.
Oh, yes. Baldur's Gate time. All right, we'll catch you then.